Hey hello everyone, I am Mia and welcome here for Crossdressing story with us enjoy. My sister taught me to be a girl. Mom believed it. The apartment felt like it was holding its breath. Heat clung to the walls, thick and unmoving, while the ceiling fan spun lazily above, offering little more than noise and false hope. What had once been a safe, familiar space now felt confining, almost hostile. Anxiety had seeped into every corner, turning comfort into captivity. Callan sat hunched at the edge of the bed, shoulders drawn inward, fingers twisting together in restless patterns. The idea of stepping outside, of being seen, felt overwhelming. The carpet at their feet became an anchor, easier to face than the world beyond the door. "You can't keep living like this, Callan," Jessica said gently, though concern sharpened her words. "Think about it. It's been nearly a month since you went farther than the mailbox." "I'm fine," Callan murmured, voice barely rising above the hum of the fan. "I just need more time." Jessica exhaled slowly and sat beside them, her posture relaxing, her voice softening. She always carried herself with ease, the kind of confidence that had carried her through college, friendships, parties. Everything Callan felt locked out of. "That's what you said last month," she replied. "And the month before. You stopped seeing your therapist, too. Even they said you need exposure, small steps, not none." Callan said nothing. The silence stretched, heavy but familiar, punctuated only by the fan's steady rhythm. Then Jessica spoke again, her tone shifting, lighter, curious. "Dangerous. I might have an idea." Callan stiffened. "I'm not going on another dating app. Last time I couldn't even make it to the door." No. "Not that," Jessica said quickly. "This is different." She hesitated, choosing her words with care. "Have you ever noticed how people act when they think no one knows who they are? Like at costume parties. Or Halloween." Callan looked up, unease flickering across their face. "What are you getting at?" "A disguise," Jessica said simply. "Not a small one. A total change. Something so far from you that the pressure disappears." Callan blinked. "You mean, like a fake mustache or something?" Jessica laughed. "Hardly. I was thinking bigger." She paused, then said it plainly. "What if you went out dressed as a girl?" The words hung between them, strange and electric. No. That's ridiculous," Callan stammered. But Jessica was already leaning forward, energized. "Think about it. No one would recognize you. You wouldn't be Callan out there. You'd just be someone else. You could talk to people, exist in public, without all that weight." "I can't believe this is even a conversation." "Your therapist said you need distance between your anxiety and your identity," she countered. "This could do that. A whole new persona." Callan stood and began pacing, heart pounding. "Even if I wanted to, which I don't, I wouldn't know how." Jessica's face lit up. "That's my department. Fashion major, remember? And honestly, we're about the same size. You're slim, not too tall. It could work." "This is insane." "No," Jessica said firmly. "What's insane is watching my brother disappear inside this apartment because fear won't let him live." Jessica's tone shifted, gentler now. "Just once," she said. "If you hate it, we erase the whole thing. Deal?" Morning came too quickly. Callan woke to the sight of their bed buried beneath unfamiliar fabric, soft colors, unfamiliar cuts, tags still dangling. Jessica stood proudly at the center of it all, arms full of shopping bags, eyes bright with purpose. "Okay," she said, lifting a pair of slim women's jeans. "We start here." Callan frowned. "Those look way tighter than anything I own." "Exactly," Jessica replied cheerfully. "Women's clothes are supposed to fit. Trust me. Bathroom's yours." With visible dread, Callan grabbed the jeans and retreated. Seconds stretched into minutes. Then came a muffled groan. "Why do these feel like they're vacuum sealed?" Callan called through the door. Jessica laughed. "Because fashion is pain." When the door finally creaked open, Jessica gasped theatrically and clapped. "See? Totally survivable. And they look great." Callan tugged at the waistband, clearly unconvinced. "They feel wrong." "New," Jessica corrected. "Now, top." She handed over a coral blouse, soft fabric, modest neckline, sleeves stopping just below the elbows. Nothing flashy. Honestly, this could pass as unisex. Reluctantly, Callan changed again. Each new item came with protests, muttered complaints, and Jessica's unwavering encouragement. But when she reached into a bag and pulled out a long auburn wig, Callan froze. "Nope. Absolutely not." Jessica grinned. "This is the key piece. Hair changes everything." Before Callan could protest further, she gently fitted the wig into place, tucking away short brown strands with practiced ease. She stepped back, eyes widening. "Oh. Wow." Callan turned toward the mirror, and stopped breathing. The person staring back didn't look like a joke. The soft waves framed the face in a way that blurred familiarity. Hazel eyes seemed brighter. Cheekbones sharper. Something unfamiliar but undeniable had surfaced. "I look stupid," Callan muttered, though their gaze lingered. "You look different," Jessica said quietly. "And that's the point." She tilted her head. "She needs a name." "This isn't permanent, Jess." "Still," she said. "Every persona deserves one." "What about Stephanie?" The name settled into the room, oddly natural, like it had been waiting. "Tyans. It's exposure therapy on easy mode." 20 minutes of panicked arguing later, Callan, now reluctantly answering to Stephanie, walked beside Jessica down the street. Every step felt exaggerated, the jeans unfamiliar, the blouse brushing differently than expected, auburn hair grazing their shoulders with each movement. "Relax," Jessica whispered. "You look like you're being escorted to prison." "I don't know how else to walk," Callan hissed back. "Shorter steps. Drop your shoulders. Let your hips move a little." The coffee shop came into view, warm light spilling from its windows. A few customers inside. Normal people. Normal lives. And for the first time in weeks, Callan took a step toward the door instead of away from it. Jessica leaned closer, her voice losing its edge. "One time," she said softly. "If it's a disaster, we forget it ever happened." Morning brought no mercy. Callan froze in the doorway, staring at the bed now buried beneath unfamiliar clothes, soft fabrics, narrow cuts, colors that didn't belong in his wardrobe. Jessica stood nearby, grinning like she just unveiled a masterpiece. "Step 1, she announced, lifting a pair of women's jeans. "These." Callan grimaced. "Those look like they're painted on." "Tailored," Jessica corrected. "Try them." Resigned, Callan disappeared into the bathroom. Silence followed. Then a sharp exhale. Then muttering. Then, "How do people exist in these?" Jessica laughed. With determination. When Callan emerged, Stiff and awkward, Jessica's eyes lit up. See? You're alive. And they fit. They're attacking my legs, Callan muttered, tugging at the fabric. Next layer. She handed over a coral blouse, simple, soft, deceptive in its normalcy. Nothing dramatic, she promised. Baby steps. Piece by piece, the resistance weakened. Complaints turned quieter. Movements slower, more careful. Until Jessica reached into the final bag. No, Callan said instantly. The wig shimmered between them, auburn and impossibly long. This is non-negotiable, Jessica said. Hair is identity. Before Callan could retreat, she eased it into place, fingers quick and precise, hiding familiar brown hair beneath something entirely new. She stepped back. Oh, she breathed. That changes everything. Callan faced the mirror, and forgot what he was about to say. The reflection wasn't a joke. The soft waves reframed the face, blurred the sharpness. Hazel eyes looked wider. Stranger. Someone unfamiliar stared back, calm in a way Callan hadn't felt in months. I look wrong, Callan said quietly. You look else, Jessica replied. That's freedom. She smiled. She needs a name. This is temporary. So is courage, Jessica said. What about Stephanie? The name clicked into place, unsettlingly smooth. Jessica grabbed her keys. Coffee shop. Panic snapped back instantly. No. Absolutely not. Yes, she said. Because no one knows you. No history. No expectations. Arguments followed, fast, frantic, circular. Eventually, the door opened. Outside, Callan walked beside Jessica, every movement conscious, the jeans unfamiliar, the blouse light against skin, hair brushing shoulders with each step. Relax, Jessica whispered. You look like you're being chased. I don't know how to move, Callan whispered back. Short steps. Loose shoulders. Trust the moment. The coffee shop glowed ahead, ordinary and terrifying. A few people inside. Laughter. Cups clinking. And for the first time in weeks, Callan didn't turn around. Jessica lowered her voice, careful now. Give it one shot. If it's terrible, we drop it forever. Callan agreed before fear could argue. By morning, the bedroom looked unfamiliar. Clothes spilled across the bed in neat chaos, soft colors, slim shapes, fabrics that felt wrong just to look at. Jessica stood over it all, energized, like this was a creative project instead of a psychological gamble. All right, she said, holding up a pair of women's jeans. Foundation first. Callan stared. Those are aggressively narrow. They're shaped, Jessica replied. There's a difference. The bathroom door shut. Minutes passed. Then a frustrated groan echoed through the thin wall. Is circulation optional? Callan called out. Jessica smiled. You'll survive. When Callan stepped back into the room, posture stiff and movements cautious, Jessica nodded approvingly. See? Not the end of the world. They feel like they're judging me, Callan muttered. Good, she said. Means they're doing their job. Next came a coral blouse, plain, modest, deceptively harmless. This is neutral, Jessica explained. You could almost pretend it's normal. Almost. The process continued, resistance fading into resignation, until Jessica reached into the last bag and pulled out the wig. No, Callan said immediately. This, Jessica replied, is what makes it work. She positioned it carefully, hiding familiar hair beneath long auburn waves. When she stepped aside, her expression changed. Oh. Callan turned to the mirror and stopped. The reflection wasn't laughable. It wasn't exaggerated. It was subtle and unsettling. The hair softened the face, altered the angles. The eyes looked larger. Quieter. Someone unfamiliar stared back, someone who didn't look like they'd been hiding for weeks. "I don't recognize myself," Callan said. Jessica smiled gently. "Exactly." She crossed her arms. "She needs a name. This isn't real." "Neither is fear," Jessica replied. "How about Stephanie?" The name settled in, strange but not wrong. Jessica grabbed her bag. "Coffee shop. Now." Panic surged. "No. I can't." "Yes," she said firmly. "Because no one out there knows you. There's no history to disappoint." The argument burned itself out, as arguments always did. The door opened. Outside, Callan walked beside Jessica, painfully aware of every step, every brush of fabric, the weight of unfamiliar hair against bare shoulders. "Loosen up," Jessica whispered. "You look like you're bracing for impact." "I don't know how to move like this." Smaller steps. Less tension. Let it happen. The cafe came into view, warm lights, ordinary people, nothing dramatic at all. And somehow, Callan kept walking. Stephanie said nothing, but the quiet spoke volumes. The real trouble began the day before their mother arrived. Jessica had taken a load of laundry home, nothing unusual, except it included Stephanie's favorite yellow sundress. Bright, soft, unmistakable. Their mother, deciding to arrive a day early as a surprise, insisted on helping fold clothes. That's when she found it. She lifted the dress, sunlight catching the fabric. "This is lovely," she said mildly. "Did you buy something new?" Jessica's hands stilled. Her thoughts scrambled for footing. "Oh, no. That's not mine." Their mother tilted her head. "Oh. Then whose is it?" "A friend's," Jessica replied quickly. "Her name's Stephanie. She stays over sometimes." A pause. Too long. Then their mother smiled and folded the dress with care. "Well, your friend has wonderful taste. Yellow suits cheerful people." Relief didn't come, it just postponed itself. That evening, when Stephanie arrived for dinner as usual, Jessica intercepted her in the hallway, fingers tightening around her arm. "Mom's here," she whispered. "She came early. She found the dress." Stephanie's face drained instantly. "What did you say?" "I told her it belonged to a friend named Stephanie," Jessica said quickly. She didn't seem suspicious. "I think we're okay." Dinner passed in a blur of forced normalcy. Their mother talked animatedly about neighbors, plants, recipes she wanted to try. She seemed perfectly relaxed. Callan was not. He had shed the auburn wig, the fitted clothes, the ease that came with them, retreating back into worn jeans and an old hoodie. The disguise felt heavier than it ever had before, tight in places that had never been tight, wrong in ways he couldn't name. As they cleared the table, their mother glanced at him thoughtfully. "You seem quieter than usual, Callan," she said. "Is something bothering you?" "I'm fine," he replied automatically. It was a lie, and they all knew it. That night, sleep refused to come. Lying in the dark, the truth settled into place with unsettling clarity. Stephanie wasn't a costume. She wasn't an experiment. She felt more real than Callan ever had. When he was Stephanie, the anxiety loosened its grip. It didn't disappear, but it softened, became manageable. Human. It didn't freeze her in place or steal her breath. By morning, the illusion of control shattered completely. Over breakfast, their mother stirred cream into her coffee and smiled. "I've decided to stay the whole week," she announced. It's been too long since we spent real time together. The cup rattled slightly in Callan's hand. Panic flickered across his face before he could hide it. A whole week. And Stephanie was no longer something he could simply put away. A full week without Stephanie. The thought alone felt unbearable. Jessica noticed the panic immediately and stepped in. "That sounds wonderful, Mom," she said smoothly, "but just so you know, Ken and I both have work things coming up that we can't really move around." Their mother waved it off. "Oh, that's fine. I'll keep myself busy. I brought my knitting, plenty to do." By the third day, the cost of hiding was obvious. Callan had cancelled everything, no outings, no coffee shop visits, no Stephanie. He stayed inside the apartment except for mandatory family dinners, retreating further inward with each passing hour. The familiar symptoms crept back in like ghosts he thought he'd outrun, a racing pulse, looping thoughts, excuses stacked on excuses. On the fourth evening, Jessica found him collapsed on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to his chest, hands cupped over his mouth as he struggled to breathe. "This isn't working," she whispered, shutting the door and sitting beside him. "I can't do this," Callan choked out. "I feel like I'm disappearing." Jessica stayed quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said carefully, "Then don't disappear." He looked up, confused. "Don't be Callan," she continued. "Be Stephanie." His breath caught. "Jess, Mom's here." "I can't just." "Why not?" she interrupted. "She already thinks Stephanie is my friend. Why couldn't she come over?" The idea was reckless. Terrifying. And impossible to ignore. "She'll know," Callan whispered. "She'll see right through it." Jessica shook her head. "I don't think so. She hasn't seen you in almost a year. You've changed. You look different. With the hair, the makeup, honestly, you don't look like the kid she remembers." The plan formed quickly, dangerously. The next day, Callan would leave early, job interview. 2 hours later, Stephanie would arrive as Jessica's friend, there to help with a design project. It was risky, but suppressing Stephanie was tearing him apart. The following morning, Callan muttered something about an interview, avoiding his mother's eyes as he rushed out the door. 2 hours later, Jessica opened it again. Stephanie stood there in a teal summer dress, auburn hair falling in soft waves over her shoulders. "Mom," Jessica called casually, "my friend Stephanie is here. She's helping me with that project I told you about." Their mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She smiled warmly. "Oh, how lovely to finally meet you," she said. "Jessica's mentioned you." Stephanie's heart hammered, but her voice stayed steady. "It's nice to meet you too. Jess has told me so much about your family." The strangest part wasn't the lie. It was how easily their mother accepted it. How completely she failed to recognize her own child standing right in front of her. They settled into the living room, the conversation drifting through harmless territory, complaints about the heat, questions about Jessica's latest design work. Stephanie waited for it, some spark of recognition, some pause that might shatter everything. It never came. Eventually, their mother stood. "You girls go ahead and work on your project," she said warmly. "I'll put together some iced tea." The moment she disappeared into the kitchen, Stephanie released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "She doesn't know," she whispered. Jessica squeezed her fingers. "I told you. You don't look like him anymore." The so-called project became an easy excuse for Stephanie to stay through dinner. Their mother insisted, any friend of Jessica's was automatically family, at least for the evening. As they ate, something unexpected happened. Stephanie relaxed. For the first time, she was talking to her mother without old expectations hanging in the air, no disappointment, no concern, no memories of who Ken had been or failed to be. She was simply someone new. Someone welcome. "So, Stephanie," their mother asked casually as dessert was served, "do you live close by?" "About 20 minutes away," Stephanie replied. It wasn't even a lie. Well, you're always welcome here, she said, smiling. And if you ever need a place to stay, we have a guest room. Ken hardly uses it now that he's got his own place. Jessica sputtered mid-sip, barely catching herself. Stephanie just smiled. That's very kind of you. Later, she said her goodbyes, promising to visit again soon. The plan, originally, was simple. Ken would reappear early the next morning, claiming he'd crashed with a friend after the interview. But outside the building, Stephanie stopped. She looked up at the glowing windows, at the quiet life continuing inside without Callan, or Ken, present at all. And she understood. Callan wasn't coming back. Not tomorrow. Not after this. The realization wasn't dramatic. It felt earned, like the final shape snapping into place after months of slow, careful assembly. The next morning, Jessica arrived alone for breakfast. Their mother was already at the stove, flipping pancakes. Where's Callan? She asked. Wasn't he supposed to be home? Jessica didn't hesitate. He texted earlier. The interview went really well. They asked him back today for another round. Their mother's face brightened. Oh, that's wonderful. I was worried about him. He seemed so distant lately. Yeah, Jessica said easily. Job hunting's been hard on him. She watched the pancakes sizzle, wondering how long the lie would need to last. And whether it even was a lie anymore. Later that morning, as Jessica rinsed plates at the sink, their mother hesitated, dish towel paused mid-motion. Your friend Stephanie, she said thoughtfully. She's quite lovely. She is, Jessica replied, careful. Their mother frowned slightly, scrubbing at a stubborn spot. She reminds me of someone. I just can't figure out who. Jessica felt her pulse jump. She gets that a lot, she said lightly. People think they recognize her. Their mother nodded, apparently satisfied. There's something about her eyes. Very familiar. Then, as if the thought drifted away, she added, invite her over again before I leave. I enjoyed having her here. That comment quietly changed everything. For the rest of the visit, Callan remained conspicuously absent, always busy, always unavailable, supposedly swept up in exciting job opportunities. Meanwhile, Stephanie became a regular presence. She helped chop vegetables, joined them for movie nights, laughed easily at stories she'd heard 100 times before, this time without flinching. By the time their mother packed her bags, she'd insisted Stephanie visit any time and had sent Callan a series of warm, encouraging messages about interviews and new beginnings. Stephanie replied to them from the next room. After the apartment finally emptied, Jessica sat across from her sister in Stephanie's place, surrounded by the unmistakable markers of permanence, the vanity crowded with makeup, the closet filled with dresses, the auburn wig resting neatly on its stand. I'm worried about you, Jessica admitted. Why? Stephanie asked gently. I'm happier than I've ever been. This started as a way to manage your anxiety, Jessica said. But now, it's something else. You're not just pretending anymore. Stephanie considered that, slowly turning her mug between her palms. It doesn't feel like pretending. It feels like living. Callan was the performance. He was the one struggling to breathe. Jessica studied her. Have you thought about what that means? Long term? Yes, Stephanie said quietly. I know it's complicated. But I can't go back. Callan was trapped. As Stephanie, I'm not. After a moment, Jessica nodded. Then we need a plan. You can't exist as two people forever, especially with Mom believing Callan's out there building some dream career. Autumn arrived with more than cooler air. Stephanie began to simplify, carefully and deliberately. She found work at a small bookstore where no one knew her past. Customers knew her only as the soft-spoken woman with auburn hair who recommended poetry and dog-eared classics. She made friends who never asked about Callan. When her lease ended, she moved across town into a new place, no forwarding address, no overlap. Jessica helped draft gentle explanations for family. Callan had taken an opportunity abroad. He was traveling. He'd never been great at staying in touch anyway. And slowly, quietly, Callan faded into a story people stopped asking about. Stephanie remained. Their mother still asked about her elusive son from time to time, and Jessica always offered gentle reassurances. Callan was fine, just busy. Meanwhile, Stephanie had seamlessly become a fixture at family events, recognized as Jessica's close friend and, unofficially, a welcomed member of the household. One crisp October evening, the park was painted in fire red and amber, leaves tumbling across the paths like tiny dancers. Stephanie and Jessica walked side by side, hands wrapped around steaming cups of coffee, the warmth cutting through the autumn chill. "Mom called today," Jessica said casually, exhaling a puff of air that mingled with the steam. "She wants to know if you'd like to join us for Thanksgiving." Stephanie smiled, watching her breath rise in little clouds. "I'd like that." She hesitated, then added, "Though, she'll keep asking about Callan." "I know," Jessica said gently. "Eventually, we'll need something more permanent." Stephanie stopped at a bench overlooking the duck pond, golden leaves drifting across the water's surface. "Not yet," she said softly. "I'm still figuring out who I am." They sat together in silence for a while, observing a family of ducks glide through the chilly water. "Do you ever miss being Callan?" Jessica finally asked, the question lingering in the crisp air. Stephanie tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear, considering it. "I miss the familiarity, sometimes. Being Callan was known, even if it was miserable. But do I miss being him? No. That person wasn't me." She smiled, a quiet warmth lighting her features. "And Stephanie, she's more me than Ken ever was." "You know," Jessica said with a laugh, linking her arm through her sister's, "your crazy exposure therapy idea actually worked. Just, not how either of us expected." "The best solutions rarely do," Stephanie replied, her eyes sparkling. As they made their way back to Stephanie's apartment, the sun dipped low, casting long, golden shadows across the paths. What had begun as a desperate attempt to manage crippling social anxiety had grown into something far greater, a journey toward authenticity neither had anticipated. At her doorway, Stephanie hugged Jessica tightly. "Thank you, for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself." "I just wanted my sibling to be happy," Jessica said simply. "And you are, aren't you?" Stephanie nodded, gazing at the street where leaves danced on the evening breeze. Her reflection shimmered in the glass, a woman in a teal sweater dress, auburn hair framing a face at ease in her own skin. "Happier than I ever thought possible." The door closed softly behind her, sealing away the remnants of a life that no longer fit. In its place stood a woman who had found the courage to live honestly, not as Callan, burdened by fear, but as Stephanie, free to be herself.